Comped, written by Bill Kearney, narrated by Thompson. Chapter 1. I got out of bed and walked over to the window. I looked out and took a deep breath. Snow covered the hotel grounds, and a cool wind swept across the parking lot, blowing the snow around. It made me shiver slightly. I had a good night's sleep without any of those pestering nightmares. Hopefully I'll get through the rest of the day without any headaches. I stepped back from the chilly scene and smiled to myself while thinking, somehow, I'm still alive. Now, if I play my cards right this time, after being thrown under the bus by both political parties over the last 20 years, I just might get my monthly statement safeguard put in all these dens of inequity. I joined Director Reverend Tom Green and members of his organization that's based right here in Washington, D.C. for breakfast. While there, we discussed our testimonies for the hearing that we're about to enter at the FTC, Federal Trade Commission headquarters. It didn't take long, and I wasn't surprised that after all these years they still have no idea how this so-called entertainment venue that is operating 24/7 in 44 states with absolutely no consumer protection works. Most of them are evangelicals from the Bible Belt states. They're church-going people who don't participate in this form of entertainment. They believe that politics must establish justice in a sinful world. Evangelicals thinking like that is good for them and for me. Here's why. Things have changed drastically since Laurent first ran for our 45th president. Back then, one of the biggest questions he faced was whether he could win over evangelical Christians. How could he, with him being a casino owner who dated playmates from the Playboy Mansion and was on his third marriage? The only thing he ever preached was the gospel of wealth and power. He needed evangelicals back then, and somehow he got them to hold their noses and vote for him. Things have changed since he became president. Now, evangelical support is no longer a question. In fact, President Laurent is so popular with evangelicals, they have come to think of him as a kind of messiah, the leader they have been waiting for. It was back in 2007 when Reverend Tom first heard about my monthly statements legislation, and how I got Laurent way before he was president to say he'd mail them out quarterly if he gets a license to steal in Pennsylvania. He called me and invited me to speak at one of his organization's conferences being held in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He told me he set up a sit-down with the editorial department of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette when the conference is over. I asked him if they knew I was coming. He said yes. Then he asked me if that's a problem. I told him that I tried to get them to do a story on my monthly statement House bill when it was up for a vote in our House of Representatives, but they refused to. I got into a heated exchange with the head of their editorial department and her staff a few times. They, like many other media outlets, stopped taking my calls. I spent over an hour speaking and taking questions at the conference that day.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?